Hey guys, welcome to the Save Continue podcast, where every week we get together and talk about video games and video game related stuff. I'm Shanae Howard. This is Tommy Shelby.
Hi.
That's Ryan Robinson.
What up?
So guys, what have you been playing lately?
So we talked about it last week, which is this week.
Today. Last week today.
Yeah, that we've been playing. I've been playing a lot of Darkstalkers 3 and Third Strike. I've also been playing a lot of Hydro Thunder Hurricane.
Cool.
Yeah, which like still holds up incredibly well. That's an airplane. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Probably
They can hear it.
Man, that game still holds up.
Yeah, Hydro Thunder's badass, man.
Like it's still super fucking fun, and it makes me miss. It makes me miss water-based racing games like Wave Race and all that. You know.
Is there no Wave Race on the Switch?
No, there hasn't been a Wave Race since Blue Storm on the GameCube. But like, so I got into like Riptide GP2 and Riptide Renegade.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
Which are great games, also made by Vector Unit, who made Hydro Thunder Hurricane. But like, you know, they add like tricks and stuff. Like they're still super fun, but like I want like straightforward boat racing or jet ski racing.
Yeah.
And it's just it's so fun. Like waves change the racing game so much, you know.
They make it bounce around.
Yeah, but I'm having a lot of fun with that.
You should play some Hydro Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that. Rage 2. I feel like I misrepresented my feelings a bit last time when I brought this up. It's not that I don't like. Yeah, it's not that I don't like the game. It's just that it's not what I expected. It is not Rage 2.
Yeah.
So
On a scale of like awful to awesome, what would you rate it? Like a meh?
is this a numerical system that I'm using?
On a scale of Wolfenstein 3D to Rage, where do you put it?
Duke Nukem 3D.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then last week you mentioned, or last episode you mentioned, tried out VR.
Oh yeah, VR is great, man. Those aren't my arms though.
Well, as a matter of fact, most of the time there are no arms.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the thing too, is that like because I mentioned that I played Rush of Blood, and every VR game that I've seen where you hold guns, the hands are floating.
Yeah.
Which like
it's not his legs, it's his arms.
Yeah. We got to stop doing inside jokes on the show so much. But yeah, so it was weird because they give you these spindly little clown arms.
Like how spindly?
Like real spindly.
Like my level spindly, or
Actually about, yeah.
Like on a level from Shanae to Octodad.
I'd say it's actually closer to Shanae than Octodad.
Yeah.
But no, VR is fucking cool. Like I'd never played it, you know, before you know, last night. And it's really cool, and I look forward to seeing like yeah, naturally I want to play some shooters in there. Like I want to play Doom, but I want to see like some of the more interesting stuff. I want to see Astrobot and
Astrobot. I think the interesting thing about Astrobot, and a big problem with VR in general, is that a lot of VR games are just experiences.
Yeah.
Like very short, very brief.
Yeah.
Astrobot is like, it's a full game, you know.
Yeah. Also, Trackmania is a bad game both within VR and out. So that's my take on that.
I wish they would bring like more puzzle games, or even give the option for fighting games or rhythm games in VR.
Tetris,
because like a lot of pros that play Tetris Effect prefer VR, not because of the immersion, but because like there's lower latency in VR.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, Tetris was cool, but it wasn't my standout experience. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing more of that, more VR games. And man, I have a lot of games to get through. Like I can't buy any more games right now. I just can't, because I have so much shit that I have to get through.
Space Channel's coming for VR.
Okay, I can buy one. I can buy one more game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just one.
Yeah, just that's gonna be it.
It's the first time we've had like Space Channel 1 in forever.
Yeah.
Like they always put out 2, which 2 is great, but like yeah.
Yeah, I gotta get through Days Gone. I gotta get through Sekiro. I gotta get through Far Cry 5 and New Dawn. There's just so much stuff going on. So I'm gonna be busy for a while.
What about you, Shanae? What have you been playing?
So I have some good news.
Cool.
You're about to hear me not talk about Kingdom Hearts for a while.
Damn.
Tom, play the applause sound clip.
Okay, I think it's this one. Nope. Not this one. This is good too, though. Okay, go ahead, Shanae. What have you been playing?
So after a conversation last week, God, this music. All right, so after a conversation last week about like different perspectives on video games.
Yeah.
Like some of I can't not
Louder?
So some of the achievements in Kingdom Hearts that was like kind of giving me trouble, and I was just getting frustrated, and I would just like there was like some of the mini games that I was like specifically
The poo games.
I'm sorry. Maybe Ryan should control this thing from now on. Maybe he can remember what button does what.
Well, we now know what that button does.
Yeah, you liked it too.
So there was things that I was like just struggling with. So I had like four or five things that I was like just like I would try each one until I get frustrated, go to the next one, and then if I got one down, awesome. But a lot of times I was just like going around in the circle and not getting something done. And being like, well, at least I got like a new perspective and trying to be positive about it.
For sure.
But now, all of those except for 2, I've done. And because I finished those, I was able to do some of the other achievements that I was like missing.
Mm-hmm.
So I only have 3 left that I need besides like to get the platinum.
Okay.
And the 2 are like mini games, but I finally think I got them down, and I think I get the like. I definitely get the mechanics down, and I think I figured out like a strategy that's really going to work for me. So I'm expecting here real soon that I actually will like platinum it, and then I can put it away for a while.
Will that be your first platinum?
My first official platinum.
Okay.
Yes.
What's your first unofficial platinum?
Well, like I say like I've 100%ed a game when I've 100%ed all the things I give a shit about.
I see. That's the Shanae platinum.
Okay.
My own personal platinum.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I platinum everything I play.
Well, just at a certain point, I just don't give a shit anymore. So I'm just
Exactly.
like, all right, I 100%.
Platinumed. Done.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
It's
On
weird
my
to
flame, platinumed.
It's weird to hear a Kingdom Hearts fan say at some point I just don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
Because there's so much of that shit. I mean, and I don't mean shit in like in a derisive way. I just mean there's a lot of Kingdom Hearts out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of like trophies that are just real grindy and annoying.
Can I ask you a question? And I want to preface this by saying, Shanae, this is not an invitation to go off on a tangent.
Okay.
I want you to concisely tell me, what is the main like, what is fun about Kingdom Hearts? Where do you get where does the entertainment come from?
It's
for
about
you?
friendship, Ryan.
Oh, right. So it's the Fast and Furious of video games.
I do like the friendship.
Mortal Kombat has friendship.
Yeah.
I like
Friendship.
I like the characters, which is
Donald.
Normally I don't like the characters.
Yeah.
In a lot of stuff, but I just like the story, so I keep watching it.
Mm-hmm.
It's true for most anime I like, but I like the characters, and I like Disney. I like Disney a lot. Like I like the movies. I grew up on them, and I like seeing them in a different world. I like seeing them kind of like reimagined in like different storylines, and the combat's easy enough to where I can, if I'm like mindless mode, I can play it and still like achieve something, but it does have nuances there where I can get better at stuff, and that's nice.
Okay, thank you.
You brought up anime just now. This isn't a game, but I've been meaning to bring it up on the show for like a month now. I've been watching a lot of Hunter x Hunter.
I've heard about that. I've heard good things.
I've never cared for shonen, but it's cool. I like it.
You should watch it, Shanae. Report back with your findings.
All right, we'll do. Yeah. I won't.
Well, I mean, you're like a Pokemon. You like Pokemon, right? Like the show and all that. So,
yeah.
like, you're a shonen type of person. You'd probably dig it.
I like stories about good boys.
Yeah.
Is Hunter x Hunter about good boys?
Yeah.
Cool.
And then I've been playing a lot of mobile games with some like coworkers and friends.
Me
Like
too. I mean, not playing with your friends.
like Evil Apples, which is like it's made by the same people who make Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah, you brought it up last time.
Yeah.
Apples to apples.
Yeah, that and a couple other ones that
Man,
are.
I have not played a mobile game in so long.
Let me tell you about a game called The Elder Scrolls Legends. It's a card game. Go on, Shade.
Yeah. So then, but besides that, I've also been because the finale, when we're airing this, the finale is coming out very soon for Game of Thrones.
I thought that already happened, no?
When this airs, it's already happened.
Okay. I mean, I don't watch Game of Thrones. I thought it already passed.
Technically, tonight is the finale.
Okay.
Like in real life time.
Yeah.
But so because of that, I've been really wanting to reread the books, but I probably won't do that for a while just because I don't want to burn myself out too much on Game of Thrones and the story that's there.
Shanae, are you the type of person where when you hear someone talk about a piece of media based on a literary work, you say, well, if you read the books? You do that a lot?
I will, like, people ask me my opinions on something.
I think it depends on what property it is.
Yeah. Like,
and the
context
adaptation of that property.
Well, I also think it matters of the context of the conversation. Like,
Yeah.
someone be like, oh, well, did you like this part of the show? And
right.
I'm like,
because I've definitely been that way with some things.
well, I was like, well, just to like preface it, like, I was like, I'm a book reader, like, as well. So I like that they did this in the show because I think that they did it like better in some aspects of the book. Or I say like, I wish they did this more similar to the books, but I like this part about it for the media that it is.
Did you sign that petition to get them to change the show?
No, because that's fucking dumb.
Okay.
It just is.
I just feel like it happens every time. Every time there's a thing that the nerds don't like, there's a petition for them to change it. Every time. Hooey to that, I say.
We're going to see a lot of that with the Tifa reveal.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have the World of A Song of Ice and Fire, which is like a textbook of the history of the universe. And then
like homework?
Yes.
No thanks.
And then I also downloaded this.
That's really cool, actually. Like, I'm not into Game of Thrones, but oftentimes if it's something I really love, like I will do big deep dives into reading about whatever it is.
The Hyrule Historia.
I read all of Hyrule Historia, and a lot of it's not accurate anymore. Thanks, Nintendo.
But it's a very, very pretty book.
That's a waste of $30.
Yep.
Or however much that thing cost.
Probably more than 30.
I think like
Probably like $50, I would assume.
I was thinking it was like 45 at launch and then went down to 30 at some point.
Most of those big Dark Horse hardcover books are about $50.
Yeah. So I also downloaded the World of Ice and Fire app, and I've been using it, like seeing what the difference is on both and see if there is like new information.
Yeah.
But I've been like super excited about this app.
Was that the TMZ app?
No.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, so you can like look at different houses, groups, religions, like things like that. It's like a text. It's similar to the textbook, but in a phone thing.
Sure.
But it does this really cool thing.
That's an ebook.
So it does this really fun thing where you can look at the journey of a character over the progression of the books. So like some characters start on one continent, go to another, or like
Oh,
go
you
up
mean
and down.
like geographical journey?
Yeah, it's like a map.
I thought
Not
you meant
like a personal
I thought
journey.
you meant like the hero's journey, like that sort of thing.
No, like an actual physical journey.
You know, it's got to feel pretty cool to like write some books and then have all these people who are like obsessed with it and like really dig deep into the thing that you made. I bet that feels really neat.
Well, yeah, like, and that's the thing, like with a lot of like, these big writers of these giant fantasies, they are creating their own world, geography, languages.
Yeah.
George R.R. Martin just based it off like loosely, like real time events. So the continents are shaped like England and then Europe. So
it's got to be beneficial for him to see like people's reaction to the show ending.
Yeah,
Well,
because I was like,
now,
I'll just
he'd be
write.
like,
I just
I'm not gonna
won't
write
do
that
that.
ending.
Yeah.
Don't write that.
Well,
He'll be remembered as a monster.
it's not yet like officially like said this is it, but it's also like the show. Part of the reason the show is disappointing to a lot of people is because it is George R.R. Martin's ending with the writing they've been doing on the show. So some storylines that were important they dropped because they didn't think it was important.
Yeah.
And then or reverse it, like they've created characters to kind of make it more appealing on the show, but it doesn't have anywhere to go to when it comes to the ending of the thing.
Yeah.
Because they obviously had the books to go off of, and then George R.R. Martin gave the writers D&D like plot points of like major things that's going to happen, but not how they're going to happen.
Sure.
So
is it acceptable just to call him George Martin?
No. You have to throw in the railroad.
I see.
So, no, it's been like super interesting because I'm finding out like new, like I've had The World of Ice and Fire, like the book for a while, and every now and then I'll pull it off the shelf and just kind of like skim through it and like find something interesting and kind of read at it.
Yeah.
But now I've been like doing targeted reads where I'm like, I want to know all about like this house.
Mm-hmm.
And it has beautiful
Run's house.
Yeah. And it has beautiful illustrations. And
That's not an inside joke. People know that.
It's just funny
Yeah.
because I'm imagining Run's house being a house in Game of Thrones.
That's the house you want to be at.
Yeah,
I wonder
Reverend Run.
I want to know what his like house motto would be.
Bring the noise.
Probably. But yeah, so I've just been really.
Yeah, that's Public Enemy. Sorry.
I've been really having fun.
My Adidas. There we go. Sorry. I'm sorry, Shanae.
Walk this way.
I've been having fun. It's been great.
Cool. Cool.
That is cool though. Like,
it's hard to find something to be that into, like
It
to
is,
where you can like
man.
invest time,
and I want that so badly with every fucking game that comes out.
it just doesn't happen.
It like Nier Automata and then like Shadow of the Colossus.
I feel like it happened with Nier Automata, did it not?
Yeah, like it's like I've said on the show before, it's like a fucking history class, and I love that, you know. And you just don't get that with
I just
hardly anything.
I don't think that a lot of people make games that have like
Oh yeah, how could they, right?
that have like rich lore and like a world full of like facts that you can learn.
I mean, Square took Sony's spot for E3, and it's about time for Taro to announce something. So I bet he's going to announce it this year.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
Another Nier game.
I hope so.
Kena Lynch 3.
By Yoko Taro, that would be so fucking weird.
Yeah.
That's like Aronofsky was slated to direct the Dark Knight trilogy, and like that would have been so weird.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would have been
Yeah.
super weird.
Lots of hard cuts and eyeballs.
So this week I want to talk about public domain.
Cool.
Public Enemy.
Yeah.
I want to talk about public enemy.
They're the ones you say
Enemy?
bring the noise
Number one.
with Anthrax.
Yeah. So I've set it off recording, but I've been listening to some podcasts that talk about public domain books and movies. And obviously we're not there yet with like video games, but I kind of do think like it's interesting to see, like, because obviously we've talked about it many times, like, you know, the video game industry obviously changes a lot.
Yeah.
So when these things will become public domain, or if they become public domain, you know, how will that really affect like the gaming community? And like obviously I have no idea. I can only speculate. But I do wonder, what are the games that are like gonna be first in public domain? Because I assumed it's gonna be like a lot of like older titles, like that are on like Atari or like and stuff like that, or like Pong.
So it's like, it's very hard to gauge, because when we talk about public domain in the literary space or even movies or music, we're talking about stuff that's quite old, right?
Yes.
And we're talking about a time when a lot of movies were made with no production company, no studio per se, just a group of people that wanted to fucking make a movie, or just a guy that wanted to write a book, you know. And now we've all of these industries have come so far with, you know, rights to different properties that I almost don't know that it's possible. Like, it certainly is possible, right? But like,
Well,
anything that's worth owning is pretty consistently owned in the game space.
Yeah.
And anything that's not worth owning, like there are games that have fallen through the cracks that just nobody owns, right? But like nobody probably wants to make another one of those. Like, you know, like,
Well, I feel like there's a reason why you can't think of any.
Yeah, exactly.
So some of the movies that are like popular that are in public domain, like A Wonderful Life is, and then also A Star Is Born, like the original one. Technically, Warner Brothers owns the rights to some of the still has the copyrights for some of the storyline, as well as the music score, and then something else I forgot. But the actual movie itself is in public domain.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if video games like ever do go to public domain, which I assume some will at some point, besides like the ones that just fall through the cracks, it's just because nobody picked up the rights for it. They're still gonna have some copyrights when it comes to like soundtrack, or even like engine the game is played on. So there's not. So I don't think there's gonna be like everything in the game to be public domain.
But what I mean is, like, if you think about anything worth making, right? That's old, right? Nintendo's always going to hold on to Mario. The Tetris company is always going to hold on to Tetris, and even older shit, Konami's not going to let go of Frogger. You know, like they're just not. And why would they? It makes no sense. I just don't see it happening in a way that we'd really be able to notice. And I could be wrong. Like, I don't remember who owned Yar's Revenge originally, which was a 2600 game. But like in the 6th generation, they came out with Yar's Revenge, which had nothing to do with the old game. It was the same game, only in name, right? And I don't know how that happened or who actually owns that IP. I just don't see it happening. And like that was a good game, but it didn't sell. So like why would you put the money up not to make anything back? Not to say like obviously art's not all about money, but in general, that's typically what these businesses are going for.
Well, so like if we're not just talking about AAA like companies owning stuff,
right?
Let's just even talk about indie games. Most copyright laws are like with that comes to the lifetime of the creator plus 70 years when it comes to a lot of the art stuff. So there are like, instances where like, maybe indie games and like, let's just say in 100 years become public domain.
Okay.
Because no one buys it.
So MDHR, they're dead. And I don't think Microsoft owns Cuphead, so somebody can make some new Cuphead. That's what you're getting at.
Yeah, I mean, there's possibilities.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know shit about copyright law, but what I do know is one of the questions that you posed was like, how would that change the community? And I almost feel like no one would notice. Not no one, I should say, but like there are people who are paying attention to this stuff, but I feel like there's a larger percentage of people who aren't. And if like, I'll be honest, I didn't know who made Cuphead. Mm-hmm. So if Cuphead became public domain tomorrow, like I feel like the only way that I would know that is if I was paying attention to news related to that.
Yeah.
But if someone else put out another Cuphead, then I don't know that I would notice. Now there are other people who pay more attention to that stuff than I do who probably would notice.
Right.
But I don't know that I can't foresee that it having an effect on the larger community at large.
I think you would notice though because of adaptation, right? Sure. And when we talk about public domain, that's often what we're talking about is adaptation.
Like if we're talking about literary, I mean, like Dorian Gray, Man in the Iron Mask is also public domain, right?
I mean, I don't know, but a lot of books are, yes.
I think it's like anything before since we're in 2019, I think it's anything before 1923 or like earlier.
Mm-hmm. It's like the Universal monsters, right? But like,
so I think all of that's public domain, and you'll see it like if you download. I mean, the only thing I could really think of like that's like would be kind of similar is if there's like a streaming service like similar to Steam that only has public domain games, like because like if you go to Google Books or whatever and you like search up public domain titles, they're free and you can just download them.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like you will start to see games more frequently pop up on things like archive.org. But I don't think that has much to do with public domain or not, right? Like Liquid Television last year, the year before, all that shit went to archive. And that's all still owned by MTV.
Yeah.
You know, they're still making money off that shit.
As long as those episodes of The Head are safe.
Yeah, but like I think what Ryan is talking about, what Ryan said is like he doesn't think he would notice, and I argue that you probably would notice because like think about a franchise you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like let's Street Fighter. Let's say Street Fighter, right? Everybody knows Street Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
You know what Capcom's going to do with it, and like part of me is like I don't want that to ever be public domain because I trust this company with that, right? But then like let's say Arc Systems Works makes a Street Fighter game, and suddenly you have a Street Fighter that looks like Dragon Ball. You would notice,
right?
You would know it was somebody different, you know. So it is adaptation.
Yeah, but like then like Capcom has always owned Street Fighter, right? But like I can also tell the difference between Alpha and 4 or Alpha and 2.
Yeah, but like that drastic of a difference though, like a change in the art style to that extent, I think that you would at least research.
Yeah, sure.
You know who created that.
Sure. But I think that a lot of like
it's like Bram Stoker's Dracula to like Dracula 2000, you know, like you would notice a difference. You would
one of those had Linkin Park in it.
Yeah,
so.
but like you would safely assume this was not made by the same people, right? Like,
sure. Like I think that as often as I see like stories about so and so company like buying up the rights to like this many properties, right? That like nobody has talked about for a while. Like when THQ Nordic was like buying up all those properties, like and like it's just they bought them and then I didn't hear anything about them after that, right? But those are also things that like those are also IP that I am aware of and that I know and that like I'm sure other people know as well. And I think I think that the ones that would go to public domain are ones that no one could name off the top of their head.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. And nobody would care to own those or to release something with those. I'm not nobody. I'm sure there's somebody out there.
Like the only niche market I can think of is somebody who makes themselves known in the gaming space as somebody who takes public domain games and redoes them.
I just
like,
think
yeah.
There are thousands of
reimagines
games
them.
that are on Steam that will go to the public domain and no one will know.
Yeah, exactly. On any storefront nowadays, right? But it is an interesting topic. What always interests me about things like this is like we live in a world now where rights change hands so frequently and rights are split so frequently. So what I think about is like in the movie space, you think about like the upcoming Child's Play, right? Where one company owns Child's Play, the IP, but one company owns the premise to Child's Play, which is why Chucky can no longer be a voodoo thing. It has to be an AI. Right. So that's really weird. But like we've seen it in games too, with Microsoft now owning Rare, owning
No More Kremlings.
They own the Kremlings, but Nintendo owns Donkey Kong. Like what the fuck, you know?
Yeah.
So that's always interested me a lot. But I don't know. Like
public domain Kremlings.
Part of me is like I would never want the franchises that I hold dear to become public domain because I trust the people that work on them to continue working on them. But another part of me thinks like, well, in 100 years, it's going to be a different people working on them anyways.
Right. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. So, you know, who knows?
If there's any games that you would want to be public domain, like say today, is there any games that you can think of that you would like? Because
I mean, the question there is basically like, or is there any games you'd like to see with a new twist on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Basically, yeah.
And there's like hundreds for sure. Street Fighter's one of them. If Axis had access to Street Fighter, like they could do something really fucking cool.
Sure.
You know? I would love to see Street Fighter 6 look like Guilty Gear. That'd be rad.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know.
River City Ransom pops up to mind. Like, I just want to see everyone make their own version of it.
From Software's River City Ransom.
But who owns, like, I know, like, Atlas owns River City, right? Or
see,
no?
that's not, now I'm not even sure because I know, so somebody owns Taito, who I'm pretty sure owns River City.
Okay, but NIS has put out a lot of River City games.
See, I don't know. Like, I don't,
so,
it's
yeah,
weird.
So it is weird. But I mean, exactly that though, right? Because like
because you could own specific iterations,
right? And they've developed
franchise.
internal
Yeah.
for the most part on those. So like we've already seen what could happen with River City. Not to say that There's
So-
no other River City ideas.
So who's putting out?
but we've seen many River City ideas.
So who's
you
putting
know?
out that River? Was it River City Girls?
I don't think that's what it's called, but something like that.
No,
Yeah.
like who's putting that out? Is it the same people who did Underground?
I think that's Nipponichi, but I'm not positive.
Okay,
Not
I don't know.
positive.
But yeah, I guess I'm wondering. Yeah, because I think I can't. I think that the question that Tom poses is a little bit more astute, as in because I can't imagine myself actively wanting something to go public domain because I don't know how that.
Oh, I know some that I would actually love for that to happen too.
What's that?
All the Valve games,
Oh sure.
because they're not doing anything with them anyways.
Oh yeah.
I would love to get a Portal 3.
So my
you know,
question
or a
has
Team
always
Fortress 3.
my question has always been like, if you're not, and this is probably a question that could be answered by someone who's a lot smarter than I am, but my question has always been like, if you're not going to do anything with that property, then why are you so opposed to selling it?
Because I mean, I can't speak to everyone's case, but in the case of Valve, it's that they're making more off of merchandise for these games than they ever made off the games themselves.
There's also the perceived value of the game. And so if everybody is making like their own versions of it, then maybe your game will not be like, even if you're not doing anything with it, it's the fact that you have the prestige of the name of the game. So if you make other stuff as well, they will be perceived better because you made this game.
Well, and we've also talked about fiduciary duty on the show in the past, right? Like,
Yep.
Valve has shareholders, and like they have to do what they think is going to make those shareholders the most money, and holding on to those properties over time will,
I guess I just wonder, like, I can't imagine like what kind of money Left 4 Dead is making at this point.
I mean, that probably
Or-
not as much, right? You can still go on to ThinkGeek and find like the first aid pack is a backpack and
Yeah.
things like that, but
Or
they're
like
probably
Half-Life.
not, right?
you
But I
know?
mean, things like Portal merch still sells like crazy,
Yeah.
like shit like that. But
Before they came out with Breath of the Wild, I would probably say Legend of Zelda series just to see what other people would do with it. But like after Breath of the Wild, no,
Yeah.
I'm happy. I am happy with
agreed.
Dead Space.
That seems to be cool to see in it's like different gameplay mechanics and art style.
Yeah.
I think they'll reboot it at some point. Zelda would be cool. Like, my problem is I think about these games, right? And public domain means anybody can make the game,
Yeah.
right? And
Because I was talking about
like,
selling it to someone specific.
Right. I'm thinking about like, man, it would be cool to see Gen Design make a Zelda game.
Yeah,
that'd
like,
be awesome.
I'm talking about selling Half-Life to someone else.
Right. I would love to see a Gen Design Zelda game. I would hate to see an Activision Zelda game,
Yeah.
So like it's really weird, but
Yeah,
it is an interesting conversation though.
because I'm thinking about who would I be okay, like what game series would I be okay seeing the mistakes but also seeing the successes with, like say River City Ransom. I'm okay with people doing shitty versions of it because I still have like the original.
Well, and you've seen many shitty versions of it.
Exactly.
That's another thing.
That has also happened.
So River City Ransom is one of those things where like there are so many iterations within that that are under that umbrella that like it's kind of like what Shanae was saying about like if everybody's making the game, then it becomes kind of less special because there are so many River City Ransom or River City things out there
Yeah.
that like it's not always easy to have my ears perk up when I hear that name again.
Well, and it's hard, right? Because if you think about like take a bigger franchise like Mario, right? There's way more Mario games
Yeah.
than Kunio-kun games, right?
Yeah.
But like the majority of them are good.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of River City games are bad.
Yeah.
Like most of them are bad.
Yeah.
Darksiders. Because I thought that the story and all that was like really fun, and there was like things about that game that I felt like really cool while I was doing it.
Mhm.
But overall, a lot of the gameplay itself, the mechanics were pretty mediocre.
And I think that after Darksiders 3, some people would be inclined to agree with you.
I also forgot that they came out with the third one. I was thinking there was only two.
Well, I guess that speaks to that game.
Yeah. So I'd be pretty like interested to see how people could like remake those games.
Well, I just think that there are a lot of, for me personally, there are a lot of IP that bigger companies are just holding on to with no plans to do anything else with, and like it sucks when those games aren't, when those properties aren't in the hands of someone who wants to do something with them.
Yeah.
Because I think that there are a lot of people who have an idea, who like plenty of people, I'm sure, who have good ideas for another Dead Space, or who have had ideas, for another. I don't know, I'm sure that somebody has a pretty good idea for a good Desert Strike game.
Well, and what's funny is in the gaming space, probably more so than in movies. I'm not going to say more so in books because there's like fan fiction for fucking everything, but like in the game space, we've seen it happen quite a bit, and we've seen it be successful, like Sonic Mania, and we've seen it get shut down real quick, like AM2R.
Right.
So I don't know, but like, fuck, AM2R is a better Metroid game than Nintendo has made in a long time.
I guess, I guess I've never been able to understand, like, you're not doing anything with this.
Yeah.
And you've announced no plans anywhere in the near future to do anything with this. Like,
well, what they're doing
like
is
everything Konami has.
is reserving value.
Yep.
That's what they're doing. They're
here's
they're
the thing
not
is,
actively doing something like they're not proactively doing anything, but they are actively doing something.
No, you're totally right. Like, just having those IP is of value, right? Whether they later decide to sell that IP or use it, it's something that's banked, which is important.
I wonder how much the Metal Gear Solid property is worth.
The Earthworm Jim games.
So I had heard.
Think about all like the indie like arcade cabinets.
Yeah,
so there's a new Earthworm Jim coming out.
Yeah, so from what I understand, like Interplay still exists. But like that was a question that I had for a while too. Is like, what's going to happen with those games that those games that they had put out, because they've been dormant for like almost 2 decades now. So,
but you know what's funny though is like about holding on to games like that, right? Like NT, which coincidentally happens to be the same company that owns Turrican. Like, people loved the first 2 Turricans. I mean, I guess I love the first 2 Turricans. Turrican didn't sell especially well, but like,
I don't even know what Turrican is.
It's old side-scrolling Genesis stuff. But like NT coincidentally is now in the Repro console game, right? So like they put out like the Super NT, right? And they put out the upcoming or maybe already released Genesis NT, right? So what you get from that is like you're getting a director's cut of Turrican 2 and then a brand new Turrican game, and that's the only way you can play that game, which is super fucking cool because like they just sat on that for over 20 years, didn't change hands, they just held on to it. And that's the value of holding on to that shit,
Yeah. So
as little value as Turrican is.
Well, so one of the things that comes up, not that regularly, but regularly enough for it to be present in my mind, is how like when EA posts something on Instagram, then the comments are just Skate 4 over and over again.
Yeah.
And I think about like, on one hand, at one point I was just like, why don't they just make Skate 4?
They will.
And everybody shut up, right?
Yeah.
But then like, I wonder, like, I'm trying to find a way to articulate this and I'm failing, but like, let's say they make Skate 4 and I wonder if people actually, do they want Skate 4, or like, is Skate 4 what people like actually like? Would that game turn out to be something that people wanted?
Yes.
Or is it just Skate 4? Because then on a long enough timeline, does it then become Skate 5 on the comments over and over again?
Well, so EA is a company that very much does things based off of financial gain and fiduciary duty, right? A combination of the two. When last year, when the trailer for Session was shown and people thought it was Skate 4,
right? And
people got super psyched for it, and then that's not what it was.
Like, on the surface, are those two games are they pretty similar?
They're extremely similar. So there was a bunch of people boo-hooing about it, right? But then you saw Skater XL and Session both doing incredibly well in early access. Session is a $20 early access game that is one level, right?
Yeah.
With no game to it.
Right.
Like there's mechanics, but there's no game part to that.
Right.
And I spent 40 hours in it. And I'm not an anomaly. Thousands of people have done the same thing. When EA sees the success of something like that, yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll do Skate 4. You know?
When did Skate 3 come out? Do you remember?
I don't know, a long time ago. It had Dead Space stuff in it, so like at the very latest around Dead Space 3.
So I feel like Dead Space 3 was 2012, 13. I don't know. But that's another one too that like I don't know because I don't really pay that much attention to like what other people are asking for. I just know what I want.
Yeah.
And I know that I want another Dead Space game.
Yeah.
Which is so funny since you jump so much.
Oh yeah. Well, like, I don't know. Dead Space, I think, like a lot of people have a negative perception of Dead Space 3. I thought Dead Space 3 was pretty good, but
Well, I'm just saying like I jump a lot too. I'm not saying like it's just
no.
you.
What I'm saying is that like it's a game. Dead Space is from what I can tell is a franchise that people are generally they look at favorably. For the generally speaking,
it's the Andromeda situation. Like it's
and
the
like,
same situation.
would they make
3
another
did not
one?
do well.
They're not gonna because they
So they're gonna
who was
sit
it?
on it. Visceral.
So is Dead Space just done?
Well, I could be wrong, but Visceral's gone, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
So Visceral does not own Dead Space. EA owns Dead Space.
Right.
So no, it's not gone. And I think they will do another one in time. I think most of these franchises, they'll probably do another one in time.
Right.
It's just not time yet, man. It's the same thing with like I said, with Andromeda. We're not going to see another Mass Effect anytime soon.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why.
Yeah.
Dead Space 3 was the reason why.
Sure.
You know.
And now, okay, so you said that public domain is the life of the creator plus 70 years, right?
For most arts, like most art stuff, when it comes to copyright things, when it's not like a giant like actual company,
Yeah.
and it's just a creator.
Right, because that can't legally be the case. If I'm EA and I own Dead Space, it doesn't matter when all the Visceral staff is dead.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'm saying like
So because I remember that
as
there
a
was
as a general like kind of guideline, that's normally how long it lasts.
because the last time I heard a public domain conversation was around Mickey Mouse.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking you mean more like Jonathan Blow. If he dies and then 70 years pass, people can do what they want with Braid.
Yeah.
You know.
Is that
like,
how it works?
Uh,
Because I don't know shit about
Neither do I.
about any of this. So, but I feel
I'm assuming unless he has some sort of other copyright like contract or whatever, or patent contract, I guess.
But like, couldn't he then like leave the rights of that to somebody?
Yes,
You know?
he can.
I just feel because it just seems like because video games, even the earliest video games, like video games are so young. Like even with the earliest video games, we're like so far away from that conversation.
'Cause if you
know?
look
See, and that's why I don't think it'll happen is because all of these will continue to be owned by someone. I feel,
Yeah.
and that's been the case like 99.5% of the time with games.
So most of the films that are like 99% of the films that are in public domain, either completely or at least partially, the newest one is like 1950.
Yeah.
So, yeah, video games have been a long time, but like it still hasn't been as long as like film as far as like on a mass scale.
Right.
So I don't know. I just like I don't know exactly how it would work with video games. I was like trying to figure that out.
Because now that's something that I feel like I need to read about. Because
Yeah, I was
really
like I was reading and like watching videos and like trying to see if anybody could like kind of give me an answer about like what would it take for a video game to go into public domain.
Well, I mean, again, I'm not versed in this stuff, but I guess I can't see why video games would be subject to different rules in that regard than something like a cartoon character.
I doubt they are. I mean, ESA could have something to do with it, but like if you look at like think about the first game, right? Think about Tennis for Two.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody owns Tennis for Two. Nobody owns the rights to it. There's nobody to monetize off of it. So I guess somebody could make another Tennis for Two game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to do that. No one's ever going to want to do that. You know, that name is not recognizable. I mean, it's recognizable to a very, very niche audience, but like, it's not like, that's what I mean. It's like, that's never going to happen. You know?
Like, I don't even know who.
Tennis for Two will, if it's not already, will probably become public domain, but we will never see the effects of that.
Like, I don't even the last because I was thinking about Turok maybe like 3 months ago, and like the last company that I can remember holding any kind of distribution rights to Turok was Disney Interactive,
right,
from their 2008 game,
right.
And now I have no idea who holds the rights to Turok.
I mean, Night Dive's the last studio to work on Turok.
Yeah.
But as far as who owns it, I don't know.
Now that's another thing too. So because they did 1 and 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, what's the deal with that? Like is that so Night Dive published those versions of that game, right?
They developed. I don't know who published.
Okay. So now I need to know who published those games.
Yeah.
Not Disney. I know that.
Yeah.
Because when I was trying to find out like if video games would ever be public domain, the closest industry to it that has public domain would be movies. Because obviously with books it's a whole lot different. Same thing with music, it's a lot different. And even like movies that are like considered public domain, like I was saying, like A Star Is Born, there's still things that they have copyrights for. So even though A Star Is Born is in public domain, only Warner Brothers, due to some of the copyrights they have, only they can produce like A Star Is Born movies.
Is that Lady Gaga movie?
Well, that's the newer version of it, yeah. But there's been a few.
There's been 3 of them.
Oh.
So I was trying to figure out what would it take for a game to be considered public domain? Like, what rights would have to be relinquished to where it could be on a list and say like, oh, this game's public domain, except for like the soundtrack or except for like this part of it. Yeah,
and I don't know how that came to be with other mediums, like with books or movies. Like, I kind of assume that those laws, like many other copyright laws, are put into effect when it becomes a problem. When somebody releases this game and somebody comes out of the fucking shadows and says, no, we own that, you can't do that. Yeah. That's when laws are put in place.
It becomes cloudy because like you have the studio putting out this game, and then you have someone else buying that studio.
Yeah.
And then wait.
Based off contract, if whether that company that buys it owns the IP.
So Microsoft does not own Microsoft does not own anything that Ninja Theory put out before the acquisition, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess I don't know, right? Because like that's all in whatever contracts they had.
Yeah.
Microsoft might have said, "Okay, we're going to buy you guys, and we're going to profit on anything you make from here on forward.
Yeah.
Anything that Microsoft publishes, we're going to profit on."
Yeah.
Or they might have said, "Hey, we're buying you, including all of your old works, and we are now getting the money from those sales."
Because
I have no clue.
Because then there came to, I think that part of that conversation with the Ninja Theory acquisition was they were working on something prior to that acquisition, and
that was with Obsidian.
That's right.
Yeah.
So now what is it,
Outer Wilds? I think.
Yeah. So that game, like when they put that game out, does Microsoft own that game?
No.
Okay.
That game will be on all platforms, and Obsidian will profit from that.
But they own Minecraft too, and that's on everything.
Yeah, and they do monetize on everything now. You know, from Minecraft, right? Like,
that's just making my head hurt.
Yeah. God, the fucking Minecraft Earth. It's gonna be terrible.
What's Minecraft Earth?
It's Microsoft's idea for a Pokemon Go competitor.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a bunch of 10-year-olds poking holes in my apartment.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah. It's it's not something that like I try to get like at least a baseline of knowledge before I brought it up to you guys.
It's so much more complicated than can be covered in this conversation.
I don't think it's like, I don't know how you could get knowledge on it in, as far as game specific, right? Because like
because it doesn't exist
we
yet.
haven't had that instance yet, right? And I don't think like there will be rules in place until we start having problems with it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I just
And it seems to be like they've been regulating it on their own for a while, so but
They probably haven't had to worry about it yet.
yeah.
You know.
yeah, and part of it like also public domain that it kind of started to bring up in my mind is just because of all the new copyright laws that went down in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
As far as when it comes to creators' content online,
Yeah.
like what counts as being as like like specific, and then specifically on YouTube, what counts as a copyright strike, like the fact that like memes are banned in English, like and all that.
They can't do memes over there?
It's the joke because some of them can be considered copyright because you're putting out there something that you didn't create.
You can copyright a meme?
It's whatever. The image from the meme.
Oh, I see.
And it's weird, right? Because like in the US, parody is completely legal.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But like, is that parody if you're using the exact image?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I shouldn't say copyright. I should say fair use.
Sure.
Fair use is a better term of what they're kind of.
So
defining.
like in England, I can't make like an Avengers meme because I'm like using.
If you drew the Avengers artwork yourself, you could. But if
So
you
if
used
I
an image from the movie,
if I draw a picture of Thor
Right.
and put words over it, then that's mine.
I believe
But
so.
if I take a picture of Chris Hemsworth and put words over that,
I'm
that's
not positive. I'm just assuming.
So if I take a picture of
if
Chris
you
Hemsworth,
take the picture, that's different.
no, but if I screenshot a picture of Chris Hemsworth while I was sitting in the movie theater
Right.
watching Avengers, that's not okay.
I don't.
Wait,
think
but I
so.
took the picture of Chris. I took the picture of the movie screen.
I don't think so. I don't think you can do that.
Okay.
yeah, as far as my understanding, no. But I'm not like.
But ownership is in entertainment is such a weird thing, right? Because like if you think about like a television show like USA Today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where there's an open window in an urban setting
Right.
and buildings in the background.
Do you own those people?
No, but like
Yep.
TRL, right?
They have to sign
Times
releases,
Square.
don't they?
Times Square, and you're seeing fucking McDonald's logos in the background and Disney logos in the background, and people own those specific buildings and people created those specific buildings.
And
like
those logos.
it gets fucking hairy.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how it works. I've seen Twitch streamers that cover up their Red Bull can so you can't see the Red Bull logo.
Yeah.
But I've seen plenty of people that don't give a shit. Like I don't know how far it goes. You know.
I think it's as far as the company's willing to take it.
Yeah,
This shit is complicated.
it is.
And then you factor into also like, do you actually own any of the digital media you have?
Well, like for example, like
we talked about like licensing renting the license.
It varies from company to company. The majority of the time, no, you do not technically own that.
like when you GTA 4 when those music licenses expired, and I think they had to like take it down and then re-upload it or something with the music that they did have the rights to.
Right.
And that happens a lot on like online streaming services like Hulu, Netflix, Philo, things like that.
What's Philo?
It's like Fila, only for your hands.
Cool. Philos.
Say like not necessarily Voodoo because Voodoo is more like a rental thing. But
When you say voodoo, I think of that Godsmack song.
Yeah.
But with those, so not only do they have to get the content streaming rights to those shows to show them on their platform, they also have to get the content rights for the background music.
I distinctly
So-
remember an advertisement in Rainbow Six Vegas for Smokin' Aces, and I have to imagine that advertisement's not still there.
Yeah. So, like, the only example I can think of that, Shanann, you are completely right, is like Married with Children. When Netflix first started airing that, they could no longer use the Sinatra song "Love and Marriage," so they put in some music that sounded similar. You know.
Yeah. Sometimes with like Netflix, you'll see like a series go down for a day or two and then come back up. Normally that has to do with music rights. Same thing with Hulu. Like since they do more episodes and not season based, they will so their contracts aren't based on a season. they'll do episodes, and then like some like old shows like 90210, like the original like 90210. They don't have the content rights for a lot of that music. For a long time with Netflix and Scrubs, or with Scrubs with Netflix and Hulu.
I don't want to talk about Scrubs.
Yeah, that show sucks.
Shut up. But some people would be like, oh, you should watch this episode on this platform or this episode on this because of the background music and them having to change it.
They're lying to you. You shouldn't watch it on either.
I get it. You don't like Scrubs, but it is an example.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's even like it's definitely tricky, even with like like people not even just streaming it in general and like getting the rights for that. Just because you get the content rights for the actual show doesn't mean you get everything.
And you know, it's different because there's not like you have to think about that with most movies, right? Or shows for that matter, unless it's like Disney where it's all original, right? But like,
so what about the Tony Hawk games?
The majority, what I was getting at is like with video games, the majority of video games you don't have to worry about that with. There are some, right? Sports games and music games and things of that nature, GTA, but most games that's not a problem.
So like you can let's say I'm Activision and I want to re-release Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
Yeah.
Like all that music, I can just keep it. I just leave it as is.
As long as they still have the music content rights for the soundtrack.
I'm not playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 without Spokesman. Okay.
Sure.
But like it could be
tonight's the night. Stars Revolt.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they may have, and then I don't know but I'm assuming, and I could be totally wrong, that each song individually they probably have to get the content rights for each one since they're probably distributed by different companies.
I bet the rights for When Worlds Collide is really cheap.
Well, and I'm sure it depends on how they acquire that, right? Like if they go about using one record company's artists, then it's probably much, much easier.
Yeah.
I'm sure it varies game to game.
Because like a big part of those games is the music in them.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's like what we always talk about, Offspring out of Crazy Taxi.
Sure, yeah.
Which changes the game not at all.
Right.
But like you still want it.
Or
there.
does it?
I mean, for old people like us, yeah.
Yeah. I need that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I just wanted to bring it up just because like I don't really necessarily have like a point to this conversation. But I just found it interesting.
Crazy Taxi, like no Fila store, no Pizza Hut,
right.
no KFC.
Right.
Yeah. Interesting. The shapes of the buildings are the same, just the logos are removed. Like that's very obviously a Pizza Hut that right there, but like there's no Pizza Hut logo.
I love when you see like an Asian restaurant or like a mom and pop place. You're like, that used to be a Pizza Hut.
But the interesting thing about like
I mean, you know what I mean?
I get it.
Pizza Hut and Crazy Taxi is like that's an advertisement deal. That's the same thing as Butterfinger BBs.
Butterfunk.
It's the same thing as Butterfinger BBs and Mountain Dew in Jet Moto, right? Those companies paid for that shit to be
there. Jet Moto is a Mountain Dew ass game, though.
Which is the only reason those are there.
Like if you're gonna put Mountain Dew in a video game, it's gonna be Jet Moto.
What I'm saying is like the creators of Crazy Taxi did not think, man, you know, it'd be cool, a Pizza Hut here.
Yeah.
You know, like that's not how that went down.
True to life.
But
so Fila came to them and said, hey.
I mean, they may have been looking for sponsorships and Fila thought that it would behoove them to do so.
Yeah.
Or it could have been like, hey, can we have our shit in your game?
Tower
It's
Records.
no different. I mean, it is different because of the context, but it's no different than Tony Hawk's Pro Skater having girl in there, but not Black Label, right? Like it's somebody paid for that shit.
I mean, if you're a skateboard company, putting Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is some smart advertisement.
Exactly.
So
I guess
even with some of these music games like Guitar Hero, it would not surprise me if by Guitar Hero 2 or 3, record companies were paying to have their music in those games.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Would not surprise me at all.
Yeah. But then it got crazy because then like you remember when I don't remember if it was Rock Band or Guitar Hero, but like they wanted to do wanted to do Nirvana, and then Courtney Love sued because they were using Kurt Cobain's likeness, and then you get down to that too.
Yeah, it's interesting. She's definitely very protective of that. I don't know.
Funny story. So we've mentioned before we're in San Antonio. One of my friends, she works for the she worked for the San Antonio Current, and
I feel like everybody worked for the Current.
anyways, not the point. The point is, she did an article about Courtney Love, and it wasn't like a bad article. It was she actually really enjoyed Courtney Love's work and like respected her, and
She was in the People versus Larry Flint.
but yeah, so she so she wrote this article, and then Courtney Love came to town, and she she wrote it right before, went to the show, and she introduced herself, and Courtney, and in front of like a bunch of people, like Courtney Love like recognized her name, and she's like, "Oh, you wrote the article," and she was like, and then told her to go fuck herself.
Yeah.
This is another Jeff Keighley story, Shanae.
No,
It kind of is. It sort of is. But Courtney Love is all. We're getting off here, but like she's always been very protective of that. Like even when Gus Van Sant did Last Days,
Yeah.
like that's her friend. They're friends, and she wouldn't let him do it. You know.
Oh.
yeah, well, copyright.
Did that Nirvana? I'm sorry. Did that Nirvana game ever come out? Not the Nirvana game, but like with that Guitar
No,
Hero.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, so copyright laws are
And I
confusing.
imagine it'd be really boring if it did.
Can you let me fucking finish?
There you go.
Jesus Christ, it's been a long time since I said that.
Can we just turn you down?
Yeah, Shanae.
Like
the
this.
host is supposed to retain her composure the entire time.
Yeah, that's
Says
true.
who?
Says the former host of this show who never lost his cool.
That's not true.
Things always went smoothly when I hosted.
Yeah.
My gasket has been blown.
Sure.
But yeah, copyright laws are confusing. We're gonna play a game now.
Okay.
Okay.
You jerks. So this is, what year did that come out? Oh hey.
Go on.
So it's gonna be like a sort of multiple choice one, or you can just say the year. I'm gonna say the name of the game, and then I'm gonna give you years. And what year did it come out?
Okay.
So, Resident Evil, the very first one.
1995. I'm sorry, 96.
94.
96. So, okay. I don't need to say years.
Oh yeah, she's getting multiple choice. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. If you know it, then you can just say it.
Well, we
96.
obviously don't.
I said 96.
Yeah, he's right.
Okay.
Halo Combat Evolve.
2000.
2000. Oh, 2000.
Yep.
Oh man, I was gonna say 2002.
Wind Waker in North America, specifically.
Shit.
2003.
Yep. Fuck it, I don't even give years no more.
No more.
I didn't mean to say it like that, but I heard it after I said it.
I don't want to play this game no more.
Don't watch them tapes.
I don't want your life.
Yeah.
So, Ryan 2, tell me one.
Yeah, that's James Vanderbeek in
Double-
Varsity Blues.
Double Dragon.
Oh shit.
87.
87.
You've always been better with the years, man.
Yeah.
Kirby Dreamland.
91.
Dreamland?
Yes.
Dreamland was a later release. So I'm going to say 92.
92.
Nice.
So, Ryan 3, Tommy 2.
Tommy 2.
Is that it?
No, one more.
Okay.
Grand Theft Auto, the first one.
Shit. 98.
97.
97.
Wow, nice.
3 versus 3.
Do you have a tiebreaker in there?
No.
All right.
So this is a tie for today.
Okay.
Sure. Thai taste.
Yeah. You ever been there?
It's great.
I'm going to Hoo Hot later. You know what that is?
I'm
No.
over Hoo Hot.
Huh?
I'm kind of over it.
Never been.
My girlfriend, for her birthday, she got a free Hoo Hot. So now we're going to Hoo Hot to eat some free Hoo Hot.
Nice.
So
When was her birthday?
May 7th.
Mongols.
Oh, tell her happy belated birthday from me.
You can tell her yourself. You have her on the gram.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So that's all we have today. If you wanna correct us on copyright,
Don't bother.
or
Unless you're and do not
If you want to
bother.
correct us on copyright, show me your law degree.
Yeah, I was about to say, unless you're
Yeah.
an actual lawyer, don't
or
do
if you understand it better and can explain what would make a video game into public domain,
show us your degree.
then let us know.
Yeah. Show us your birth certificate.
If you want to talk to us about public domain, show us your birth certificate.
Cool.
But yeah, you can hit us up on social media. We have a Discord. But yeah, that's been our show. Bye, guys.
Bye.